When I just started on improving my social skills, I had this one problem. I really struggled to talk to people I barely knew. I didn't have this problem when I was talking to my friends. You just see your friend and you say, hey, hello, how are you doing? Right, you're very confident, energetic, positive vibes. You just ask them the question and the conversation goes perfectly. But with a new person, it's either I was just sitting in silence and didn't say anything, like this, or I really tried to start a conversation and said something cringe. So, do you like a barbecue sauce? It always felt fucking cringe. And I don't want you to be cringe. And that's why today, I will give you a framework that you can use to talk to anyone you barely know. My name is Nikita, and on this channel I talk about practical communication tips for everyday life. Now, without further ado, let's roll. The difference between the person you barely know and with your friend, that with your friend you already know what type of things to discuss. But when you're talking to the person you barely know, it's like his cards are hidden. So you need to scan through different topics and find those common things. And that's why for this we have this framework. It's called H.E.F.E. H.E.F.E is an acronym, and each letter here in this word stands for the topic that you can discuss with the person that you barely know, and it will not feel awkward. So let's start with an H. When I was just developing my social skills, I didn't really know what to talk about, so I just felt, hey, I want to talk about things that I enjoy, right? Because if I enjoy those things, then other people would enjoy them as well, right? That's what I thought. However, the interesting thing is that I really like my job. And when you like your job, I always was assuming that if I like my job, then other people might like their jobs as well, right? So I was asking them, first of all, like, hey, so what do you do for a living? What's your job? However, sometimes, well, actually a lot of times, people didn't really like to talk about their job because they just didn't like it. They were not passionate about it. It was more like they had to do this because they needed to do something for a living, right? But they hated every single second of it. And that's why when I was talking passionately about my job and asking them passionately about their job, they were not really willing to discuss that with me. And that's why I realized that talking about work, it's not often a good idea. But what is a good topic to discuss? It's hobbies. Because a lot of people have hobbies, and hobbies is what people usually do after work and what they like. And that's what people really like to talk about. That's what they really enjoy. I usually use this topic if I meet some girl online and I'm just asking her questions in order to get to know her better. So I usually ask things like, hey, so what do you like to do in your free time? And it always leads to something positive. They start talking about their hobbies, maybe they go to the gym or walk in the park, right? And usually after that, if you listen actively, you can just start asking follow-up questions and boom, you have a conversation going. So it will be something like, hey, what do you like to do in your free time? Well, I like to go to the gym. Oh, really? How long have you been going to the gym? Then she replies, and then you can ask something like, oh, cool. So what's your least favorite exercise? So the idea here is very simple. The person will start telling you about their hobbies. You just need to catch one of the hobbies and then just start asking more and more questions. Maybe tell a little bit about your hobbies. And if your hobbies connect, perfect. You can just start discussing this and you instantly will catch a connection. But of course, not everyone has hobbies, right? You definitely meet those people, maybe you're one of them, who just work or study a lot, and all they want after that, they just want to go to bed and sleep. Energy for something else? Hell no. So that's why asking about hobbies will not work every time. Because sometimes you can get an answer like, I don't have any hobbies. And that is time when you can use the second letter in our formula, E. E stands for entertainment. No matter how busy people are, they don't work 24/7. They're definitely watching some movies, TV shows, listen to music, play video games, and of course, they entertain themselves somehow that they like, that they prefer. So this topic is also positive. So your goal is to find out what do they do in order to entertain themselves and ask questions about it. Of course, asking something like, hey, so what's your favorite TV show? Can be cringe. So here's another way how you can ask that in a more natural way. You can just make a simple statement and then ask the question. Oh, actually, yesterday I was rewatching this movie series called Pirates of the Caribbean. Have you seen those things? Watch it, yeah? Yeah, Jack Sparrow is funny. Do you watch movies? Oh, really? What's your favorite genre? And maybe the person will tell you, yeah, I like watch movies, and you start discussing. Maybe the person will tell you, no, I actually don't really watch movies, I prefer video games. Okay, ask questions about this, right? The person will be telling you how he or she spends their free time, what do they do and what they enjoy. And your goal here is to listen actively and ask clarifying questions. Tell a little bit about yourself and get to know this person better. The next letter in our H.E.F.E formula is F. F stands for food. In all of those 4 different topics to discuss, food is my least favorite. Yes, overall people like to talk about food, and you will not go wrong with food. But the problem is that This topic, I think, it's very contextual, and that's why I don't really use it a lot. I remember one time I used this opener to start a conversation with a person. So I met a girl and I just invited her on a date. So she was very beautiful, we were chatting, and I invited her to a Chinese restaurant. And when we met in a restaurant, I asked her, hey, so have you ever tried Chinese food? And I used this topic in order to start a conversation. I don't really remember exactly what I asked her after that, but it was probably something like, hey, so let me help you then to choose. So what type of cuisine do you prefer? What's your favorite? Do you like this, that, right? And you ask people, hey, do you like pizza? What's your favorite pizza? Oh, you eat pizza with pineapples. All right. You're crazy as fuck. Goodbye. I think food is a good choice when it fits the situation. Because everyone loves to eat, everyone eats, right? Not everyone has hobbies, but everyone eats, that's for sure. So you cannot really go wrong with food. However, the problem here is that sometimes, discussing food isn't really relevant. Imagine if I just met her somewhere in the park and I just asked her, hey, I'm Nikita, nice to meet you. So, do you like barbecue sauce? She'd be like, what if psycho? But what if you don't want to ask about the hobbies, about entertainment, and about food? None of those things look like actually a good idea to discuss. In this case, you can use the last E in our framework. H.E.F.E, the last E, environment. In my opinion, talking about environment, it's the best way to start a conversation, and it feels the most natural one. It's very simple. All you need to do, you just need to talk to the person about something that is related to the context of the meeting or the environment. So imagine the situation. You're in the airport and you see to the person you barely know, and the person, you smile to the person smiles back, and you can start a conversation by saying, hey, so where are you going, right? I mean, it sounds completely natural. It doesn't feel awkward at all. So the conversation can be something like this. Hey, where are you going? Oh, really? To France? Yeah, I'm going to Germany. Have you been there before? And then after that, you can ask questions like, hey, have you been to France before? Do you travel a lot? If so, oh wow, what's your favorite place? And then after that, you ask more questions, tell a little bit about yourself, and the conversation slowly starts. This approach requires some practice, but it's not really that hard, honestly. Practice it for 1-2 times, and it will be very easy. So use the simple framework. H.E.F.E. Hobbies, entertainment, food, environment. Use the simple framework, and you'll be able to talk to anyone you barely know without feeling awkward. And of course, it's great when you know what to talk about. However, when you start talking to the person, another thing that you need to do is to make a good first impression. And how to make a good first impression in under 30 seconds, I talked about in this video. My name is Nikita, and I'll see you next time.